I'm Jacob Miller.
I'm Alex.
Brianna.
I'm Christian. We discovered the most important attributes to logistics majors regarding internship and full-time.
We then zeroed in on attributes that were among the most important to logistics majors, and we also compared them to students who took the same survey at Western Michigan.
All right, let's get started.
All right, this is Team 10, and this is our analysis of Central Michigan University College of Business students. So our executive summary consists of our findings, which were that logistics students want $60,000 starting salary and a fit with culture. Advancement opportunity, company atmosphere, and culture fit were very important. CMU students experienced more variety of work, reputation of companies, and culture fit versus Western Michigan students in those categories. 59% of students found a need for improvement. We need to improve meaningful work and compensation, although when looking at this, atmosphere is the most important to all and is a major weakness of Central. So on the agenda today, we're going to be talking about the objectives, the research methods, the results of our findings, and an overall summary of everything that we went over. So on objectives, we're going to go over the sample objectives, which are the career sample and who are they, and addressing a question of does the sample look like the population. Under choice objectives, we're going to talk about how students make career choices, the attributes most and least important in making choices, and what levels of performance are most and least preferred. Under max diff objectives, we'll be talking about in two different situations, choice specifically, which is most and least important to the customers. We're going to be talking about CX performance objectives, and this addresses from a retention perspective, how are you performing to our competition, that in this case would be Central, and from a retention perspective, how are we performing relative to the competition on key drivers. Then we'll be talking about CX improvement objectives, and this addresses from a retention perspective what is most important to CMU students. And lastly, we're going to be talking about CX importance objectives. This addresses from a retention perspective what improvement opportunities should be fixed first. Alright, now on to research methods. So for the sample, we had a sampling firm consisting of CMU students, primarily marketing and logistics majors. This was based on sample size and response rate. For survey development, we produced and executed the survey with the help of Dr. Garber. It was tested with college students and it was revised many times. When conducting data collection, we used web-based surveys given to CMU students, primarily undergrad, in the spring of 2017. Points were awarded for completion and valid responses. There were some research limitations, however, which consisted of survey fatigue, limited experience of the students, but however, we are confident with the results considering these limitations. So, who is the sample? The sample is CMU College of Business students, pretty much being split 50-50 between male and female. 78.7% of students had internship experience, and the majority being marketing and logistics majors. And ultimately, yes, the sample does look like the population.
Okay, so now we're going to go into our results, beginning with our choice results, which give us attribute importance, where the attributes share 100 points. The more points, the more important. It also gives us preference, where 0 is average preference, negative is below average, and positive is above average. Looking at our attribute importance, we see that starting salary is our most important attribute, followed by fit with culture. Next, we have distance from home, location, type of firm, and work environment, which is our least important attribute. We're first going to look at our preference levels for starting salary, which is our most important attribute. We see that, of course, a starting salary of $60,000 is the most preferred with a mean of 85, followed by a salary of $50,000, which although not preferred with a below average mean, is much closer to the average than the other options. The least preferred is a salary of $40,000 with a below average mean of -75. This tells us that it is very unlikely for logistics majors to accept a job with this starting salary. With $50,000 being close to the average, the expected starting salary is most likely between $50,000 and $60,000. With our preference levels for fit with company culture, with the very high preference, we see that students with a high mean of 65 prefer a job where they fit with the company culture. We can also see that students will most likely not accept a job where they do not fit in with the company culture. From our attribute importance, we already know that this is an important attribute to students when deciding on a job. Looking at our preference levels for distance from home, we can see that students most prefer to be close to home within a 1-hour drive. Air travel and a 4-hour drive are almost equally not preferred. Air travel is the least preferred with the mean of -26. Students would mainly accept a job that is close to home, which means that logistics firms should more so recruit from places close to their office. This tells us that CMU should mainly bring in recruiters from companies in Michigan. With our preference levels for location, suburbs is the most preferred location to work with the mean of 16. Arroyo area is the least preferred with the below average mean of -12. In the middle, we have a big city, which although has a mean of -5, is close to average. This tells us that most logistics majors prefer to work somewhere located in the suburb, but it is almost expected to work in a big city. With the preference levels for a type of firm, a 3PL/transportation company is the type of firm that logistics majors prefer to work in with a mean of 12. Working for a manufacturer has a mean of 4, being preferred and the most expected as it is close to average. Working for a retailer/wholesaler is not preferred, which tells us that these type of companies should find a way to make themselves more appeal to students at CMU. Last, we're going to look at our preference levels for work environment, where the office work environment is the most preferred over the road warrior, which is not the ideal job for logistics majors. The field/plant work environment is exactly average, which tells us that this is the work environment that logistics majors mainly expect to work in. With work environment being the least important attribute, we do not see much of a variance in the data because the student's choice is more dependent on other factors. To sum up our choice results, we found that the most important attributes were starting salary and company culture, where our least important attributes were the type of firm and the work environment.
MaxDiff is a great tool because it gives us variation. All the attributes share 100 points. More points equals more importance. We will now examine the MaxDiff results of interns and full-time prospects. Interns are focused on the atmosphere of the company, possibility of advancement, and fit with the company. Attributes such as size of the firm and dress code have little importance. We recommend the College of Business conduct focus groups with students to get an idea of their ideal work atmosphere and fit. Regarding advancement, students need to be prepared to advance in a company's ladder. We suggest business majors to have more required leadership and management classes. Students seeking full-time jobs are highly attentive to possibilities of advancement, work atmosphere, and fit with the company as well. Once again, size of the firm and dress code have little importance. With similar results to intern attribute importance, we have the same recommendations. Those being, recommend the College of Business to conduct focus groups with students to get an idea of their ideal work atmosphere and fit. Regarding advancement, students need to be prepared to advance in a company's ladder. We once again suggest business majors to have more required leadership and management classes. We now turn our focus to the biggest discrepancies between interns and full-time prospects. Interns place an important score of 9.5 on working in their desired field, while full-time prospects only place a score of 6.1. While both full-time students and interns place high importance on room for advancement, full-time students gave an important score of 14.8 and interns 12.3. Room for advancement is clearly a key component for both full-time students and interns. We suggest the College of Business tell recruiters to heavily emphasize their company's advancement possibilities at career fairs and campus presentations. To summarize MaxDiff, our most important attribute for interns is company atmosphere. The most important attribute for full-time is room for advancement. both interns and full-time see dress code as the least important attribute.
Next, we're going to cover customer experience performance. In the results, we found overall performance using Net Promoter Score. We then calculated attribute performance. And lastly, we calculated the importance of relative performance to the best competitor. The overall objective of CX performance is to compare CMU students' thoughts and opinions on different performance attributes versus that of students at Western Michigan University. First, let's discuss Net Promoter Score, which is a measure of overall performance. You can find NPS score by taking the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors. These scores can range from negative 100 to 100. As you can see, we have a score of 46.9 for promoters, 21.9 for passives, and 31.2 for detractors. These scores gave us an overall NPS of 15.7. In this graph, we show how CMU stacks up against other universities in the country. With a score of 15.7, CMU is at a big disadvantage compared to the nation's top competitors. In this graph, you can see that the top 5 attributes for CMU students are relationship, reputation, culture fit, atmosphere, and dress code. The following 2 graphs show how CMU's attribute importance stacks up next to Western Michigan's. As you can see, both CMU and Western Michigan students show interest in a relationship with supervisor. However, CMU students concern themselves with a firm's reputation and their culture fit, whereas Western Michigan students are more concerned about a firm's onboarding process and stress levels. Next, we're going to take a look at performance ratios. Any attribute above 1.03 can be considered a significant advantage. Any attribute below 0.97 is considered a significant disadvantage. And lastly, any attribute from 0.97 to 1.03 is in the zone of indifference, which means it is neither an advantage or a disadvantage. The scores in this graph are comparing CMU performance to Western Michigan performance. As you can see, CMU has an advantage when it comes to variety of work, reputation, and culture fit. CMU is not performing well in the onboarding process with a score of 0.88 and level of stress with a score of 0.87. CMU has no advantage or disadvantage when it comes to advancement, location, relationship, and size. To summarize CX performance, CMU's top performing attributes were reputation and relationship. Their main advantage was variety of work, and their main disadvantage was level of stress. We are now going to take a look at CX importance results. CX importance uses correlation values with the American Consumer Satisfaction Index, which range from -1 to 1. The higher the score, the greater the importance. Let's take a look at the importance graph. As you can see, reputation, meaningful work, culture fit, interesting work, atmosphere, and work and desired field are the most important attributes to CMU students. This information is important because companies should focus on the key drivers and second-tier key drivers to appeal more to CMU students. In this case, the key drivers are reputation, meaningful work, and personality fit. The second-tier key drivers are interesting work, atmosphere, and work within desired field. CX importance showed us that the most important attribute for CMU students was reputation of the firm. The least important attribute for CMU students was level of stress.
In the customer experience improvement section, we will explore the stated improvement opportunities and the derived improvement opportunities by considering the performance and importance results in scatter plots. Nearly 60% of survey takers believe we need to improve, while roughly 40% don't think we do. With over half of respondents believing improvements need to be made, we will now explore those attributes. Central students believe they need to be presented with more meaningful work. We suggest the College of Business instruct their students to deeply research their internship opportunities. Doing this will give them a deeper understanding of what their role in the company will be, and if it isn't a meaningful one, they can pursue other options. Following scatter plots show major and minor strengths and weaknesses. Attributes falling into the range of 0.97 to 1.03 are said to be in the zone of indifference and don't represent a weakness or a strength. Central's biggest attribute issue here is atmosphere of the work environment. It's their only major weakness. Interns are clearly not happy with their atmosphere during their internships. To fix this, we suggest the College of Business conduct focus groups with students who have had internships. The students can give their perspective on what makes a good work atmosphere and what companies exemplify those atmospheres. Taking another look at the scatter plot, most of the attributes on this plot either fall within the zone of indifference or as minor and major strengths. While this is good, it is our job as a consulting firm to focus on weaknesses. The onboarding process and dress code are both minor weaknesses. There is little we can do to influence companies' dress codes. However, regarding the onboarding process, we recommend the College of Business implement an advising group comprised of experienced CME professors who can help guide students through the process. To summarize our customer experience improvement, meaningful work is what needs to be most improved. Our major strength is reputation and our major weakness is atmosphere.
So now what? What does this all mean? To summarize everything, salary and company culture rank the highest in attribute importance with full-time and intern decisions. Company atmosphere ranked the highest for interns. Firm reputation and relationship with supervisor were the top performing attributes. Reputation of the firm was a major strength for Central, and meaningful work needed the most improvement out of everything else.
Thanks for watching our presentation.
College should be tried.